They feared your silence, but now they tremble at your power. Oh, they thought your silence was weakness, silent, compliant, passive. But what they couldn't see, what they failed to understand, was that silence is not weakness. No, it's the calm before the storm. It's the deep, breathless quiet that only comes when something immense is about to be unleashed. They were wrong about you, so wrong. They thought your stillness was a sign of surrender, but what they didn't know, what they couldn't see, was that in your silence, you were gathering strength. Do you hear it now? The rumble of thunder in the distance, low and steady? That's your awakening. The storm you were always meant to be. All these years you've lived under their judgment, their scrutiny, their expectations. You've lived in a world that told you to stay small, stay silent, stay in the shadows. And you did. You stayed, you kept your thoughts to yourself, held your voice behind locked doors. Let your dreams go unspoken because they told you your silence was safer. They told you to keep quiet, to hide, to shrink. But no more. They feared your silence because they knew, deep down, they knew that silence is power in its rawest form. You thought you were hiding, but in reality, you were biding your time. You were storing up your strength, growing stronger with every moment of quiet. They never saw it coming. You, once invisible, now standing tall, no longer hiding, no longer shrinking. Now you're ready. The world doesn't know what's coming, but it's about to find out. Remember the days when you felt like the world was pushing you down, telling you that you didn't have the right to speak, that your voice didn't matter. Remember the times they ignored you, dismissed you, and tried to erase you from the story? But in that silence, in that absence of sound, something powerful began to stir inside you. It was the foundation of your strength. It was the fire that started to burn, quietly at first, but it was always there, smoldering beneath the surface. They didn't see the potential you carried. How could they? They were too busy trying to silence you, trying to control you, trying to make you feel small. They thought they could bury you, but they didn't realize it's the seeds that are buried deep in the earth that grow the strongest roots. Now you can feel it, can't you? The shift, the weight of what's coming, the realization that your silence wasn't a weakness at all. It was a reservoir of untapped power. And now it's rising, building, demanding to be unleashed. You are a force in the making. And the world is about to witness the storm that you have quietly prepared to become. You're not the same person you once were. The silence that once bound you is now the very thing that fuels you, propels you forward into your destiny. They feared you because they didn't understand the force of nature you were. But now they'll understand. They'll feel the power you've been quietly cultivating. And this time, it won't be silence they fear. It will be the roar of your rise, the unstoppable force of your reclaimed power. Fast forward. Tread carefully. A mysterious force closes the distance. The carpet new. The world is about to see what happens when a storm is finally set loose. You've lived in the shadows for so long, haven't you? Hidden behind walls built by fear, doubt, and rejection. There are days when it feels like the world is just too heavy to carry. Every step you take, every word you speak, feels like it's dragging you down further. Your soul, once vibrant and free, has been weighed down by 1,000 unspoken words, 1,000 unhealed wounds. And it's suffocating, isn't it? Like breathing in a thick fog that fills your lungs and makes it hard to remember what it felt like to take a full breath. Every part of you longs to break free, but there's always someone holding you back. What if I told you that the chains you've been carrying are not yours to bear? What if I told you that all this time you've been living under the false weight of someone else's expectations? Those chains, they weren't your choice. They were forged in the fires of other people's doubts, insecurities, and judgments. They wrapped around you so tight that you couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't even dream without hearing the clanging of those shackles. You've carried them for so long that you don't even remember what it feels like to walk free, to stand tall in your own power. You've become so used to the weight that it's almost become part of you. But it's not. Those chains are not part of your DNA. They don't belong to you. And yet they have defined you for far too long. Who put them there? Who told you that you weren't enough? Who whispered the lies that made you doubt your own worth? Maybe it was the people who told you your dreams were too big, too wild, too impossible. You can't do that, they said. Who do you think you are? And you believed them. You let those words sink in like stones into your heart, until all you could hear was the echo of their disbelief drowning out your own desires. Maybe it wasn't even their words, but the silence that followed, the absence of support, the lack of encouragement. Maybe you were made to feel invisible, unheard, like your presence didn't matter. And so you shrunk, you dimmed your light, you played small. Not because it was who you are, but because it was easier to survive in that space. It was easier to fade into the background, to hide in the shadows than to risk rejection, failure, or worse, being exposed for not living up to their expectations. But let me tell you something, and you need to hear this right now. You are not the sum of their judgments. You are not the person they tried to make you believe you were. You are not the failures, the mistakes, or the missed opportunities they tried to use against you. And you are not the silence they tried to impose upon you. Do you feel the anger rising inside you, the frustration that's been building up for years, maybe decades? I see it in your eyes, even if you've been afraid to admit it. You're angry. You're furious at the way they made you feel like you didn't matter. And that anger is not something to be ashamed of. It's a signal. It's a fire that has been smoldering inside you, waiting to erupt. It's the fire that tells you that enough is enough, that tells you the injustice of it all, the way you've been held back, the way they've tried to silence your voice and shrink your spirit. It's time to stop letting their words have power over you. It's time to stop letting their limitations define who you are. But this journey, this battle, it hasn't been easy, has it? It's been a long, lonely road. A road where you've had to walk by yourself, carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, wondering if anyone would ever understand. There were nights when you cried in silence, when you questioned your worth, when you wondered if it was all even worth fighting for. There were moments when you wanted to give up, when the weight of it all felt too much to bear. You felt like you were suffocating in the darkness, unable to see a way out. And the worst part was that you felt invisible, like your pain didn't matter, like no one cared enough to notice. But let me remind you of something important. Your pain matters, your struggle matters, you matter, and you always have. The world may have tried to convince you otherwise, but don't let their lies become your truth. This is where it all changes. It's time to face the villain that's been keeping you small, whether it was the expectations of a society that told you to conform, the failures you couldn't escape, or the people who sought to control or belittle you. Whatever it was, it has been an illusion. They made you believe you were powerless, that you were weak, that you didn't have the strength to rise above. But you do. You always have. And it's time to take back what's yours. This journey, this fight, this battle, it's not just about you. It's about breaking free from the prison they've built around you. It's about reclaiming the freedom they stole, the voice they silenced, the dreams they tried to destroy. You've been carrying their weight for far too long, but now you're ready to put it down. You're ready to rise. You've been here long enough, haven't you? Trapped in the quicksand of your own doubt, sinking deeper with every attempt to move. You keep telling yourself that you'll get out, that you'll break free, but every time you try, you just sink further. The harder you fight, the more it feels like the world is pulling you under, dragging you into an endless abyss of despair. The walls are closing in, the cage is getting smaller, the bars are tightening around you, and you're starting to wonder if you'll ever breathe freely again. How much longer will you let this happen? How many more nights will you lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if it's all worth it? How much longer will you let them define your life, tell you who you are, tell you what you're capable of? They've convinced you that this cage is your reality, haven't they? They've made you believe that this suffocating weight of self-doubt is all you can ever expect from life. They've made you think that this is as good as it gets, but that's a lie. That's the worst kind of lie. Because right now, you're trapped, not by your circumstances, but by the lie you've been forced to believe. Every time you look at the world around you, you feel the sting of isolation, as if the only thing holding you back from safety is your own unforced self-doubt. You see others living their lives, chasing their dreams, and there you are, still stuck in the same place, still wondering if you'll ever make it out. The door to freedom is right in front of you, but it's locked. The key? Well, it's somewhere deep inside you, but right now it feels impossible to find. All you can do is stand there, hands pressed against the door, feeling the frustration building, the anger bubbling up. Why can't you escape? Why can't you break through? You know the feeling, the days that stretch on forever, the mornings that feel like an eternity before you can even get out of bed, the weight of the world pressing down on your chest, making it hard to breathe, hard to move. The exhaustion isn't just physical, is it? No, this is deeper. It's in your soul. It's a constant, gnawing fatigue that drains your spirit until it feels like there's nothing left. You've given so much, fought so hard, but the results? Empty. You see no progress, only more frustration, more doubts, more dead ends. You tell yourself that one day, things will change, but deep down, you're afraid you'll wake up tomorrow to find the same chain still holding you back. And that fear, it's paralyzing, isn't it? The fear that this is as good as it gets. The fear that you're stuck in a cycle that will never end. The fear that you'll never be free. That you'll always be the person who never reached their potential, never found their voice, never became who they were meant to be. And it's crushing. It's suffocating. It makes you question everything. The decisions you've made, the steps you've taken, the dreams you once had. Was it all for nothing? Have you wasted your time, your energy, your heart? But here's the thing. The longer you stay in this place, the more it becomes your prison. The longer you hold on to that fear, that doubt, the more it holds you captive. How long? You're not just trapped by the world or by your circumstances. You're trapped by the story you've been telling yourself. The story that says you can't escape, that you don't deserve to escape, that you don't have what it takes to break free. That's the real trap. That's the lie that has kept you bound. And every moment you spend in this emotional prison, every day you let that lie control you, is another day you lose. Another piece of yourself slips away. Another part of your power is surrendered. So, how much longer will you let this happen? It's horrible, and it's horrible for you. So how many more days will you wake up thinking this is the best you can do, the best life has to offer? You've been fed this lie, and it's eating away at you. The cage is suffocating, the chains are heavy. You've been so focused on how hard it is to escape that you've forgotten that you have the power to break free. But that power is buried under the weight of fear, under the weight of the doubts they planted in your mind, under the weight of the years of believing you were too small, too weak, too broken to ever make it out. But listen to me now, and listen closely. You are not trapped by what's outside of you. You are trapped by what you believe about yourself. The longer you sit in this dark, suffocating place, the more you allow their lies to define you. But those lies, they're not the truth. They never were. You've been holding yourself back, not because you can't, but because you've been afraid of the power you hold. The power to change your own story, the power to break the chains, the power to stand up and walk out of the prison you've created in your own mind. I know it feels impossible. I know it feels like you'll never break free, but here's the whisper of hope you need to hear. You can escape. You are more than the fears, more than the doubts, more than the pain. There is a version of you waiting, hidden beneath all this darkness, that is waiting to rise. It's not a matter of if you will break free, it's a matter of when. The key is in your hands. You just need to remember that you have it. The moment you decide that you deserve more than this, that you refuse to stay stuck in this place any longer, that's the moment everything begins to change. But you have to make the choice. You have to make the decision to leave this prison behind. It won't be easy, it won't be instant, but I promise you this. There is a life waiting for you on the other side of this despair. A life that you were always meant to live. And it starts with the decision to rise. The decision to fight for your freedom, to walk through the door you thought was locked, and to claim the power that has always been yours. The choice is yours. Will you stay trapped, or will you find your way out? You are not broken. You never were. You've been through hell, yes. You've been beaten down, knocked sideways, forced to question every step you've ever taken. But all that pain, all that suffering, it was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to forge you. You've been through the fire and come out the other side stronger. You've been tested and tried, and now you stand on the edge of your transformation. You are no longer the person you were when the storm began. You've changed. You've grown. You've survived. And now it's time to awaken to the truth. You are the architect of your future. You are not a passive victim of fate. You are not someone who was born to suffer and remain defeated. No, you were born to rise. You were born to claim the life that has always been waiting for you. But that starts with understanding the power that lies inside you. It starts with the realization that your pain doesn't define you, it refines you. Every wound, every scar, every broken piece of you, it's all part of the process. These aren't weaknesses. They are the marks of your survival. They are proof that you have stood up again and again in the face of adversity and walked through the fire without being consumed by it. Look at your scars. Do you see them now? Every one of them tells a story of resilience, a story of strength. They are not signs of what broke you. They are signs of what you survived. The world tried to silence you, tried to shrink you into a corner and tell you that you were too much, too loud, too bold. They tried to convince you that your dreams were too big, too wild. They told you that your voice didn't matter, that your power didn't exist. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't understand, is that silence is where power is born. Do you hear me? Silence is where power is born. You've been growing stronger in the dark, building resilience with every moment you've spent in that suffocating silence. It was never about weakness. It was about preparation. You've been quietly gathering strength, gathering purpose, gathering the courage to rise. Think of your past life as the courage ran. Half your life was spent behind an unoccupied level of consciousness because it was safer, and now the fuse has been lit. Your silence, your stillness, was just the beginning. You've been the spark waiting to ignite, and now you are ready. The world will feel your fire. You may have spent years thinking that your struggles were proof that you weren't enough, that you weren't worthy, that you would never overcome. But all that time, you were wrong. The struggles, the pain, the heartache, they were the fuel. They were the very things that were building the person you are becoming. The caterpillar doesn't turn into a butterfly overnight. It spends days, weeks, months, hidden in the dark, growing, evolving, transforming, and when the time comes, it emerges stronger than ever, ready to soar. That's you. You've been growing in the dark, preparing for this moment, and now the moment is here. This is your rebirth. You are the butterfly emerging from the cocoon, the phoenix rising from the ashes. You've spent long enough in the darkness, long enough feeling small, long enough believing that you were destined to stay stuck. But the truth is, you are meant for so much more. All that pain, all that heartache, it wasn't meant to define you. It was meant to shape you, to build you, to make you into the force of nature that you are becoming right now. Do you feel it? The power building inside you? It's not a far-off dream anymore. It's not something you'll only access once you get your life together, once the stars align. No, the power is already in you. It has always been in you. It's been there all along, waiting to be awakened. And now it's time. The fuse has been lit, and you are the spark that will ignite everything. You are the storm that will shatter the chains, the fire that will burn away the doubt, the force that will move mountains. Your strength isn't a myth. It's not some fairy tale you've been told to believe in. It's real. You've seen it in the way you've bounced back after every setback, after every fall. You've seen it in the way you've fought to get up, even when it felt like the world was pushing you down. And now you're about to see it in the most powerful way possible. You are about to rise. The world didn't break you. No, the world tried to silence you. But what they didn't know is that silence is where power is born. You've been growing stronger in the dark, waiting for the right moment to emerge. And that moment is now. This isn't just a shift in your story, it's a complete transformation. You are no longer the person you were before. You are no longer the person who believed in their limitations. You are no longer the person who allowed fear to hold you back. You are becoming the person you were always meant to be, the person who will stand tall, unshaken, unstoppable. You've endured, you've fought, you've survived, and now you will rise. The question is, are you ready? Because everything you've been through, every tear, every moment of despair, every bit of pain, it has all led to this. It has all been preparing you for the moment when you will take back your power, when you will stand in the fullness of who you are. It's time to stop hiding, stop shrinking, stop doubting. It's time to rise. Are you ready to step into your power? Ready to step into the life you were always meant to live? Because that moment is now. It's happening, and it's happening because you are finally ready. You've done the work. You've weathered the storm. You've earned the strength. And now, the world will witness your rise. The phoenix has risen. The butterfly has emerged. And you are the storm. You are the fire. You are unstoppable. They thought they had you figured out, didn't they? They thought they could break you. They saw you faltering, stumbling, and they pounced. They thought your silence was a sign of weakness, that your doubts were your limits, that your pain would be your prison. But what they didn't see, what they could never understand, is that every trial you faced, every tear you shed, every moment you spent in the dark, it wasn't breaking you, it was forging you. They tried to dim your light, to reduce you to nothing, but all they did was turn you into a weapon. You've been through fire, yes, but the fire didn't consume you. It melted away everything that wasn't meant for you. All they fixed upon was a person they didn't know, and when they found it, they didn't want to neutralize it. It refined you, shaped you, sharpened you. You were forged in the flames of your struggle, hammered into shape by the weight of your own resilience. Every time you thought you couldn't go on, every time you thought you were done, that was just the universe preparing you for what's to come. It was laying the foundation for your awakening. Now you stand at the precipice of your own potential. The question is, will you step forward, or will you stay stuck in the shadows of who you used to be? You've been through the worst. You've survived the worst. And now you have the power to rise. You have the strength to claim the life that's waiting for you. But first, you need to realize one simple truth. They cannot define you anymore. Do you hear me? They cannot define you anymore. The people who laughed at your dreams, the ones who belittled your goals, the ones who told you that you weren't enough, they have no power over you now. They've been reduced to nothing but echoes in the wind. The world may have tried to silence you, tried to make you small, but it never worked. Why? Because you were never meant to be small. They wanted you to stay quiet, to remain in your place. They wanted to keep you in that cage of doubt and fear, to keep you silent, subdued. But they didn't know the truth. They didn't know that silence is where power is born. They didn't know that in your quiet moments, in your darkest hours, you were growing stronger. You were gathering your strength, your courage, your fire, and now you're about to unleash all of it. So ask yourself, are you going to stay small? Are you going to remain the person they tried to make you? Are you going to let them define your story forever? Or are you ready to take control? Are you ready to stand tall and claim what's rightfully yours? Because let me tell you something, you are not a victim. You are not a victim. You are a victor. You've been carrying around the weight of your pain, your fears, your doubts, and for too long it's felt like it was crushing you. But that weight, it was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to make you strong. You've carried it long enough. It's time to lay it down, to shed it, to leave it in the past. You've endured, you've fought, and now you are finally ready to step into the person you were always meant to be. You are not your circumstances. You are not defined by what you've been through. You are defined by what you choose to do next. The power is in your hands. It always has been. The moment you realize that you are not a product of your circumstances, but a master of your destiny, that's when everything changes. That's when the chains fall away and the world opens up to you. Look at yourself in the mirror right now. Look at the person staring back at you. That person is a warrior. That person is a survivor. That person is unbreakable. You have survived the worst, and yet you are still standing. Not just standing, rising. With strength you didn't even know you had, rising with power, with purpose, with clarity. You have nothing left to fear. You've already conquered the hardest part. Now all that's left is to claim your power and step into your greatness. So what's next for you? What will you do now that you've realized the truth? Will you shrink back into the shadows, or will you step forward into the light? Will you remain the person they tried to make you, or will you rise as the person you were always meant to be? This is your moment. This is your revelation. And now it's time to act. Stand tall, shoulders back, eyes burning with purpose. Feel the power coursing through your veins. You are unstoppable. You are a force of nature. And now it's time to show the world what happens when they try to break someone who cannot be broken. They thought they had you, they thought they could destroy you, but all they did was forge you. Now you're ready. Ready to rise. You're not the boss anymore. Ready to conquer. Ready to claim the life that's waiting for you. This is the moment, the turning point, the revelation. You've awakened to your full potential, and nothing, not a single thing, will ever be the same again. Now it's time to make a choice. No more excuses, no more delays, no more playing small. You've spent enough time hiding in the shadows, waiting for someone else to recognize your worth, waiting for the perfect moment to step into your power. The time has come. The only thing that has been standing between you and the life you were meant to live is you. Let me ask you something. How long will you wait? How many more years will you spend questioning whether you're worthy? How many more days will you hide from the greatness that's been waiting for you to claim it? No more. You've already endured the darkness. You've already gone through the fire. You've already shown the world just how much you can take. And now is your time to rise. No more hiding, no more waiting, no more second-guessing yourself. It's time to take ownership of your power. The fire inside you can no longer be contained. You've been quietly building your strength, preparing for this very moment. You've been growing, evolving, becoming the person you were always meant to be. And now it's time to unleash everything you've got. It's time to burn away the remnants of your old life, the fear, the doubt, the self-imposed limitations, and build a future that only you can create. But how do you do that? How do you step out of this moment of realization and into the next chapter of your life? It starts with one simple decision: commitment. You have to commit to your own greatness. You have to commit to your own power. No more looking to the outside world for validation. No more waiting for someone else to give you permission. You don't need their approval. You never did. Commit to this. You are the one who will create your future. It's not up to anyone else. The world will try to tell you what you can and can't do. It will try to limit you, to box you in, to make you believe that your dreams are too big, too wild, too impossible. But I'm telling you right now, those dreams, they're yours. And only you have the power to make them a reality. Here's what you need to do. 1. Own your power. Every single day, remind yourself that you are powerful. Remind yourself that you are capable of greatness. Write it down. Say it out loud. Build a new story in your mind, a story where you are the hero, the creator, the warrior who refuses to back down. The more you remind yourself of your power, the more real it will become. 2. Take action. It's not enough to know your worth. You have to prove it to the world. Step out of your comfort zone. Do something every day that scares you. Take that first step, even if it's small. The more you act, the more momentum you'll build. The more you build momentum, the more you'll see that you are capable of everything you've ever dreamed of. 3. Surround yourself with people who lift you up. The world can be full of naysayers, but you don't have to listen to them. Surround yourself with people who see your worth, who encourage you, who push you to be your best self. The right people will help you see your own light when it gets hard to see it yourself. 4. Don't settle for less than what you deserve. Don't let the world convince you that you have to accept mediocrity. Limitations. Focus more on what you can do instead of what you should do. You are meant for more, and the moment you raise your standards, the world will meet you there. 5. Take ownership of your choices. Every decision you make shapes your future. You are the architect of your life. Choose the path that aligns with your purpose, with your dreams, and with your highest potential. Never let fear dictate your decisions again. 6. Embrace your journey. There will be setbacks. There will be challenges, but that's part of the process. Every obstacle you face is an opportunity for growth. Every failure is a lesson that will make you stronger. Don't shy away from the hard times. Lean into them. Learn from them. They are the very things that will shape you into the person you are becoming. It's time to rise. Will you stand tall and claim the life that's always been yours? Will you step into your power, own your story, and never look back? You've already come so far. You've survived. You've endured. You've been forged in the fire, and now you are ready. Don't waste another second. The world is waiting for you. It has always been waiting for you to rise, and now it's your time. The fire inside you is no longer a flicker. It's a blaze. The power that has been dormant inside you for so long, it's awake now, and it's ready to burn down everything in its path, clearing the way for you to walk boldly toward your destiny. You've come too far to turn back now. Your moment is here. Step into it. Step into your power. They feared your silence. Now they fear the power that you've awakened. The world is watching, and it will never be the same again. This is your time. This is your moment. Don't let it slip away.